Welcome to the week one go-to session, everyone. This is the first of 4 such sessions we're going to hold this month. We've got, I don't know, just under a handful of people with us. I think the slow turnout might have something to do with the fact that yesterday was Memorial Day. And yeah, the first day of a new class, which typically is a Monday. This week it's a Tuesday because of the holiday. But regardless, the first day tends to be a slowish day because, I don't know, people don't really treat the class as fully underway until the second day, the third day. So maybe that's part of the reason. Also, I just realized that when I copied over the materials from last month, the recording for this first session from last month also was brought over. So some people might have just jumped in and watched the week one lecture from last month. But I always prefer to do the lecture live, and I've deleted the recording from last month and I'll replace it with this one. So anyway, let's get underway. Welcome to English Composition. My name is David Sussman. You are welcome to call me David. Some students insist on Mr. or Professor. That's fine as well, but I'm pretty low-key, so first name basis is perfectly fine with me. Welcome to English class. As you can see here, week one will mostly be an introduction to the course and also what we're doing this month as a whole. We are working toward the writing of a single essay. That's right, just one essay. Okay, but we will work towards that essay step by step. So we'll talk a little bit about what that essay is. But first, let's begin with some just general stuff, okay, overview stuff. Most of the stuff you can see here on this slide here, the overview slide, I might have to get away from this, so I was going to blow up the presentation so you could all see it in full slide mode. But the syllabus, of course, resources, etc., is found under a number of documents that should be located from your viewpoint under, I forget what it's called on your end, the About tab or something. Because we instructors, things look a little bit different on your end. But anyway, the Meet Your Instructor activity, that's where you can find my office hours. Okay. But basically make sure that you're going through all these getting started activities. They're all pretty much, they're not graded officially. So to answer your question now, no, you don't lose points if you didn't click complete by the day that it's due, because it's worth 0%. But still, you should be going through each of these activities, including, well, if you're here now, you obviously signed up for the lecture. But how about the people who are here? Are we signed up for McGraw-Hill and turnitin.com? I'm going to briefly go into the McGraw-Hill activity. Because in the past, students received codes for their textbook, but now the registration, as I understand it, is codeless. Is that true? Not true? Anyway, you have a video you can watch. It's only like a minute and a half, but it explains how to register. And you'll need this link here. Okay. So for example, if I click on this, it will take you to a page that looks like this. So to make sure you're in the right place, it will have the month, June. I know it's not quite June yet, but that's the month we're in. You'll see my name. And then it's just a matter of following the steps. Okay, you enter your email address. It should probably be your Full Sail email. Then click begin, and you'll be walked through the rest of the steps. Okay. Some people said yes. So Kim, Samuel, did you need a textbook code to complete your registration, or was it codeless? Because I've been told that we're switching to codeless registration. It used to be that students would get to the step where it asked for a specific textbook code, and then if they didn't have one, they'd write to me, and then I'd tell them to contact FSO support because they were the ones that handle the code. In theory, we're switching to a codeless registration. So anyway, if anybody can confirm that, that would be nice. But anyway, you get full explanations here, both in the video and troubleshooting. Okay. So what to do if you had a McGraw-Hill account in the past. Okay. Ooh, this is useful. Completing assignments on a mobile device. Okay. That's used to know. I think people should be completing almost all assignments on a non-mobile device, especially writing assignments. But, okay, Kim, you just followed the instructions. Do you remember, did you have to enter a textbook code, or did you just click through the instructions and got signed up? Because I don't know things from the student's end. when it says, for example, codeless registration. So it did ask for a code. Okay. I think the codeless, I don't know how, see, it's confusing. So you still received a code, like from your Full Sail email address that you had to enter? Hmm. Okay, you put the code in that was sent to you. That's fine. I'll probably still be referring people to Full Sail. Actually, let me go ahead and type that in. FSO support. For any issues that you have, you need to contact 877-437-6349. I'm typing that in the chat, but because people who watch this video after the fact cannot see that, I'll say it out loud again. 877-437-6349. One more time. 877-437-6349. That's the phone number to FSO support. I recommend always calling them, not emailing them, not using their Twitter handle. Okay, you'll always pretty much get through to them immediately and get helped immediately if you call them. Email, sometimes it takes much longer for them to get back to you. Sometimes they don't get back to you at all. Yes, Bradley says they rock. I've called them several times with issues. So yeah, they can help with anything dealing with the FSO platform, but they can probably help with just about anything else too. For example, maybe if you have issues with Turnitin or McGraw-Hill, they've probably received enough phone calls about those things as well that they might be able to help you. Okay, so any tech problems that you have, call FSO support. Okay, let me get back to, okay, so get through all the getting started stuff. Let me make a quick mention about professionalism. I know the instructions say that professionalism, I'm supposed to enter a grade of 100, and then throughout the month, if there are any deductions to make, I make them as they happen. To be honest, that takes so much effort in bookkeeping that I enter the professionalism grade at the end of the month, okay? And typically, I don't take deductions except for any egregious behavior, which hardly ever happens. But I mean, truly unprofessional behavior, or things like missing assignments. Okay, there are deductions for that. But otherwise, yeah, that's a grade I'll enter at the end of the month, even though the instructions say otherwise. But mostly, we're going to talk about this stuff week one. Okay, so let me get back to my keynote presentation. Okay, so be sure to find the syllabus, of course, resources. We do have a writing center, and I'm going to type that in the chat as well. It's really easy to remember. It's just writingcenter@fullsail.com. So for people who are watching, it's just writing center, one whole word. Okay, so you don't separate it anyhow. Writing center@fullsail.com. You do need 24 hours notice for an appointment. And it's Monday through Friday, so no appointments over the weekend. So if you're looking to get in the last possible date, which will be Friday, you need to contact at least 24 hours in advance. So sometime Thursday, for example, you could get an appointment for Friday. If you're on campus, there is the ability, I think, to have one-on-one in-person meetings, but for the most part, it's done online. Okay, so you're setting up an online appointment, which will be handled through GoToTraining, just like the program we're using now. You also get GPS points for doing so, at least for the first visit. Okay. Here, let me go into slide mode. This is English class. You have a little visual here that explains the importance of the class. You can read through that as I speak. I don't think I have to convince people the importance of writing. Even people who swear that they don't like English or they don't see the point in it, they kind of do. I think most people, either because they've had bad experiences, right? You've had bad teachers, or high school English wasn't a tremendous amount of fun. So yeah, sometimes people can be soured to the whole notion of English, but I do think that people understand its importance. It really doesn't matter what industry you're in, whether it's something business-oriented or whether it's something like here at Full Sail, we have a lot of careers that are related to the entertainment industry and the tech industry. You'd be hard-pressed to find someone who's successful, whether in film, music, art, graphic design, mobile app design. Try to find me an example of a successful person whose communication skills are poor, either in writing or speaking. Again, you're going to be hard-pressed to find that person. So anyway, yeah, we have a couple nice quotes here about the importance of writing, that people really do take it seriously. When I used to teach business writing, that's something that I would really stress to students, that sometimes even when you're submitting materials like a resume, a cover letter, portfolio, yeah, your writing says a lot. And you can easily find yourself on the slush pile for things like not being able to write effectively. Okay, so what is the focus of this class going to be? As I already mentioned, we are working toward a single assignment. Okay, just one essay. You're not going to write essays every week. We only have 1 month in this class, so we are working toward a single essay, but we are going to work on it one step at a time. And what will be the focus of this month's essay? Well, as you can see here with the colorful visual, we're going to take a look at something that's all around us, advertising. Okay, this month's assignment will be an ad analysis essay, where you will choose an ad from an approved list. Okay, so sadly you don't get to go and grab a favorite ad. I'll show you where the list of ads is in just a second. But you'll choose an ad, and yes, this will be the focus of your paper that we are working toward. Actually, let me show the list real quickly. Okay, so let me get away from this. Under the week 1 activities, the first major writing assignment, which I'll talk about more towards the end of this session, but your first activity, which is this guy here, 1.5, step 1, preparing to write. Okay, it's a kind of a brainstorming activity, though it's focused brainstorming. But if you scroll down, here's the list of ads to choose from. Okay, so I think there are 8 ads. 5 of them are television commercials. 3 of them are print ads. We're going to get some practice in just a second, taking a look at ads and figuring out what we can identify that's interesting in an ad. But for now, I'll just give some very general advice. Look through all the ads, okay? And after this lecture, based on what we've gone over, based on these sample ads that we'll take a look at, choose an ad where you can automatically see things going on, okay? And again, this will make a lot more sense once we take a look at some practice ads. But I say this because every month someone chooses an ad. For example, I keep meaning to eliminate it, but this ad, the Chico the Stork, probably the most difficult ad in the bunch. That's why I keep meaning to get rid of it, and I always forget to do so. But yeah, don't choose this ad if you are not sure at all what to say about it, okay? Or don't grab the Call of Duty ad just because you love video games, okay? The idea here is not to choose the coolest ad or the most entertaining ad or the ad that speaks to you the most. No, choose an ad where you can clearly see things. And we're going to get practice on that in just a second. But for now, think of threes, okay? I'm going to repeat this all month. Think in threes. Why? Because, let me get back to my keynote presentation. Yeah, you're going to ultimately, you need to identify 3 interesting things going on in the ad. 3 moves the ad makes, okay? 3 choices that the ad's creators have made. Ad agencies who are hired by companies to produce ads sometimes spend millions of dollars on an ad campaign. So no choice that goes into an ad is accidental. So we're asking students to identify 3 of those moves that the ad makes. Okay, 3 of those decisions that's made. It could be, if it's a commercial, it could be the music that's used, right? If an ad uses a particular song, why does it use that song? Or if an ad uses a specific color or a specific background, if it's a print ad, for example, why that color? Why that background? Again, no detail in an ad is accidental. So we're asking students to, yes, examine those details carefully. So when I said don't just grab an ad that seems cool or seems neat or seems most entertaining, no, you need to choose an ad where you can see 3 things going on, okay? Yes, here's just a reminder, this is what we're working on, ad analysis. Now, will you ever have to actually create an ad analysis in your life? No. And actually, that's not what's most interesting to me. We're using ad analysis as the kind of basis to teach writing essentials, how to organize a paper effectively. And yes, I do care. It does exercise your critical thinking muscles to be able to look at something and analyze it. I know that sometimes students are hesitant to do that, but you do it all the time. You'd be amazed There are students who love sports, and yes, their comments are so precise and so analytical, or people who just maybe they comment on friends or relationships of friends and acquaintances. And again, their comments are so precise that they're analytical. Yet for some reason, when it moves to a classroom situation and people are asked to analyze a text, or in this case, an advertisement, yeah, sometimes the walls go up. Don't. Don't do that, okay? You guys analyze all the time. And I do think there's value in, again, exercising those muscles. But yes, we're ultimately going to look at an ad and try to answer the question: how do advertisers persuade an audience? Because that's ultimately what they're trying to do, right? To get you to use their service, to buy their product. And again, no detail in an ad is accidental. Now, this class is set up. You're going to see this visual pretty much every week, I think. It's a visual representation of the writing process. What you need to know is that every week in this class is devoted to a separate stage in the process. So week 1, we're right here, brainstorming. This week, your main task is to choose an ad and then complete a brainstorming worksheet. Now, it is a dedicated brainstorming worksheet. It does require quite a bit of effort and thoughtfulness. We're going to take a look at the worksheet towards the end of this lecture. So it's not just sitting down and wildly brainstorming, but it is a focused, okay, somewhat rigorous brainstorming activity. Next week, we're going to be more here, these two arms of the visual, researching and investigating. Yes, there is research ultimately required for this paper, but we won't talk about that this week. You'll organize your material because next week's major activity is an outline. Okay, so you're going to set up the essential basic structure of the essay. In week 3, we're going to be here. So you'll actually write a draft of your essay. And then week 4, you're going to be here. You're going to get peer review. You're going to participate in peer review. So you'll comment on 2 of your classmates' papers. You'll hopefully have 2 of your classmates respond to your paper, and you'll revise it accordingly. Okay, so this is the writing process. Probably most of you are familiar with these steps. Okay, even if you weren't, they're sort of the familiar steps that all creative people go through, not just with writing papers, but, songwriting, creating a film, creating anything, right? You don't just sit down and kind of bang it out all at once perfectly. No, you think about it, you work on it. Maybe there's not research involved, but okay, there is thoughts about how to put it together. You create it, you go back to it, okay, you revise, touch it up. And then if needed, you might go through these steps again. So anyway, this class is designed to follow each of these steps in the writing process. I'm going to just blow by this because this just discusses what we already discussed. Okay, so let's get some practice. And actually, I think I have these slides. Hold on a second. I think I have them slightly out of order because before we talk about this sample ad, hold on. Yeah, let's look at this slide first. Remember when I said to think in terms of 3s, okay? You have to identify 3 elements at work in the ad. You have to identify 3 moves that the ad makes, 3 decisions, 3 details in the ad that seem important. It might be useful to think of them as fitting into 2 broad categories. First are formal qualities. By formal, I just mean technical stuff, okay? The nuts and bolts of how the ad is put together. So this might include issues of color, sound, music, camera work, etc. So technical stuff, okay? Or thematic qualities. So obviously theme, motif, character, story. I put story in quotation marks because sometimes ads do tell a story. Sometimes they don't, but they still have things going on in it. In other words, yeah, this is the technical stuff. This is the non-technical stuff. So let me go back 1 slide. Oops. There we go. This is a Jeep print ad. Now, you do not see both of these images at once. I have both of them up there so you can see the visual trick. Normally, you only see what's on the left here. Okay. You could see that looked at one way, it looks like a giraffe's head. Flipped on its head, it looks like a penguin. But yeah, normally you only see the left side here. And I don't know if you can see that very clearly, but it says Jeep, see whatever you want to see. Okay. It's a little curve above the image, and it's upside down below the image. The upside down quality, I think, encourages you to look at the image upside down and see the visual trick. So, thinking about what I've just discussed, you have to identify 3 things. They can be technical things, they can be non-technical things. But right now, without even worrying about what's right or wrong or how many, we're not performing super formal analysis yet. Just what are things that stand out to you in this ad? And feel free to go ahead and use the chat. Like, if you already had to start brainstorming about this ad, what are interesting aspects of it? Okay, Kim says the animals. Sure, the decision to use animals. Right? It's a really spare image, by the way. It's very minimal. Bradley says color. Okay, good. Why don't we stick there for a second? Okay, the imagery, the color, and the yes, and Jordan says the background. The beige. I think he or she. Jordan, I apologize. I don't know if Jordan is a unisex name, so I'm not sure if I should say he or she. But Jordan says beige burlap. Okay. Why don't we begin there? The color and the quality of the background. Why would that be? Think of this too. Ultimately, we're trying to answer the question why. Okay. If you're answering the question why, you're getting to analysis. Why does an ad use this song? Why does an ad use this color? Why does an ad use this image? So let's begin there. Why does the ad use this color and this type of background? Because Jordan's description is terrific, by the way, right? Kind of reminds you of burlap. It's very fabric-y. I know it's not a word, but it's got this fabric textile quality, right? It reminds you of a burlap sack. But let's stay there. Color and background. Why this color? Why this background? Can anybody answer? Because I'll say it's not accident. Okay. Why would a Jeep ad use this color and background and not, for instance, a Lexus ad? I would argue this ad would not work very well for Lexus. Okay, if it said Lexus, see whatever you want to see. Any thoughts there? Just on the color in the background? Jordan says outdoorsy stuff. Jeep is meant to go places. Okay, good. Right? So does that make sense in terms of the background? Beige is what kind of color? What does it kind of remind you of? Or the burlap kind of quality? Beige it's an earth tone, right? It reminds you of sand, dirt and mud. Right, Jordan, good. And same thing with the fabric quality of the background. Okay, it reminds you, yes, of burlap, like a burlap sack. It also, I would argue, reminds you of canvas, right? A canvas tent, khaki clothing. So this color choice to use an earth tone and to use this quality of background, this woven fabric-like, again, it wouldn't work if this was a Lexus ad or a Toyota ad, okay? But it works for Jeep because what is this kind of familiar image of Jeep? Some people associate with the military. That's a popular image too. But it's the vehicle we stereotypically think of with safaris, right? Off-roading, getting outdoors. And yeah, that's Jeep's kind of claim to fame. So these are the kinds of things you're going to have to notice in your chosen ad. Okay, to notice three things. So I think we're kind of also answering the question of, I forget who mentioned, I think it was Bradley, right? Or maybe it was Kim, I can't remember. But the choice to use animal imagery, right? Same thing, right? Well, in other words, why is it using this reversible animal image? Same thing. I mean, is a Lexus the kind of car that you would typically get in to go see giraffes in the savannah in Africa, or to see penguins in the Antarctic, or the southern tip of South America? No, probably not. But in a Jeep you would. So even though this ad is incredibly spare and incredibly minimalist, we can see that the choices are not accidental in terms of color, in terms of background, in terms of why it's using animal images. And here, let me see if I can get away from this for just 1 second. Hold on. You don't have it for week 1, but for weeks 2, 3, and 4, we do have examples of every assignment for this class. So you do have a sample completed brainstorming worksheet, which is your first assignment. But for weeks 2, 3, and 4, I have produced materials. Oh, by the way, there are some other examples of here's another one in the Jeep series. Okay, so looked at one way, it's a deer's head. Looked at another way, it's a seal. Here's another one. Okay, elephant, turkey. So it's pretty nifty. Again, you don't see both images at once. But anyway, what I was going to say is I have produced some materials. My computer's running a little bit slow. It's taking forever for things to open up. Uh, but I kind of wanted to see what it's like to complete these assignments. I think it's useful for an instructor to do the assignments that he or she asks the class to do. So I wrote an ad analysis essay. I've also completed an ad analysis outline for next week. I don't have a week one worksheet that I completed. I apologize for that. But we do have another sample, a past students example. We'll look at that later in the session. But yeah, this is what we're working toward. This is my essay on the GPAD we just looked at. Okay. Again, you'll have access to this full essay in week 3 when it comes time to write the essay. But as you can see, I apologize, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. But later in this session, we are going to talk about thesis. And here's the thing, you have to identify 3 interesting things because those 3 things are going to be placed in what's called the thesis sentence. The thesis will ultimately be the final line of your opening paragraph, and it sets the table for the entire paper. Okay. So here, through the use of simple color, playful imagery, meaning that animal imagery, that reversible image, and a double meaning tagline that reinforces theme, the GPAD appeals to the inner adventure inside everyone, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so ultimately, you're going to have to produce a thesis sentence that's kind of like this, where you will list the 3 things you see in the McDonald's ad, the Call of Duty ad, the Allstate ad, the print ads like the Altoids Wintergreen Mints ad. Okay, so again, when you choose an ad, don't just grab the thing that's coolest or neatest or most entertaining. No, try to pick one. And I understand you may have trouble identifying the 3 things immediately. That's okay. That's what the brainstorming activity is designed to help you to find. But ultimately, you don't want to be painted into a corner, stuck with an ad that you ultimately don't know much to say about. And yeah, once you identify these 3 things, they become the body of your paper. So here I have one paragraph devoted to the ad's use of color, where I mention the things like that Jordan mentioned. Okay, that the ad's beige background brings to mind fabric and textiles, a burlap sack, tawny canvas tent, khaki clothing, and that earth color might suggest environment, dusty paths, windswept dunes, the debris kicked up by a Jeep. Okay, and then I explained exactly as many of you mentioned. Okay, the color choice is no accident, for it reinforces Jeep's outdoorsy image. Then there's an entire paragraph about its imagery, okay, that reversible animal image. And then a paragraph about the tagline. And there's a conclusion paragraph. So this is what we're working toward, okay, a traditional kind of 5-paragraph essay, thesis driven. But yeah, you have to identify those 3 interesting details in your chosen ad. Now let's practice a bit more, okay? Let me get back to my slideshow. Oops, I went one too far. Okay, what about this ad? And while you're typing away, same thing. Just start shouting stuff out in the chat. What seems interesting to you? Don't worry so much if you're not sure what to say. I'll just mention that this is an older ad, obviously. This is from 1972, I believe. I use it for a couple reasons. 1, because I think it's an interesting ad. 2, believe it or not, ads like this still exist. I don't know if anybody remembers, but about a year ago, there was a Jose Cuervo television commercial that it was kind of a fun commercial because it pretended that it was on the Rolling Stones tour jet for, I forget, 1975 or something. And it was filled with a cast of characters who looked like they walked right out of the 1970s. The band itself doesn't appear in the ad, but it has a lot of fun with the 1970s. So, okay, this truly is an ad from the early 1970s, but retro ads like this do pop up from now and then. But what stands out to us? Remember, we need to identify 3 things. 3 things that we feel are interesting or could be interesting. Maybe you're not sure yet. Maybe you can't put it all together. Don't worry about that. Just start listing stuff. Okay, Kim says color, good. Sex appeal. Jordan says there's a, oh, he's making, or she, I don't know. Jordan, if you want to reveal, so there's a guy that lives in me has the exact same car. Okay, yes, the car is very cool. Bradley says the movie theater and back. Okay, believe it or not, the movie theater is much more important than you think because, like, the poster is somewhat cut off here, but I can already tell what movie it is. And then someone pointed out you can see it here too. Last Tango in Paris. I don't know if people are familiar with that film. You could always look it up on Wikipedia. But it's not an accident that it's this movie. We can talk about that in a minute. Uh, the words your mother wouldn't like. Okay, let's deal with this. Let's start with color. Why these colors? Okay, there's the red of the car. There's a kind of warm, bright, lots of orangish and red. Why those colors? I'm going to tell you right now that color is meaningful here. Oh, okay. I'm trying to give people a chance to respond. I don't know if the question is too obvious. Bradley says love. I think I know where you're going. I'm not sure love is the word I would use. Okay, good. Passion, right? Yes, Kim is right as well. And by the way, color doesn't have to be one thing or the other. It's often sometimes doing two things at once. Red is a color that grabs attention, but it's also fitting here. Okay, red is a passionate color. I would say overall, color and lighting. I don't know if this makes sense, but doesn't the feel of this, the color and lighting, produce what are the adjectives I would use here? Sultry. Do we know what that mean? Words. Uh, sultry, lurid. Okay. Yeah, there's something about the color, the lighting, even the overall environment that is it's warm, but it's a bit more intense because as someone mentioned earlier, this ad is playing with sex appeal. Okay, and someone mentioned the tagline: "Your mother wouldn't like it," but what wouldn't your mother like? Seductive, good, Samuel. That's a good adjective. Sultry, uh, seductive. What was the other one? I lurid. Okay, so those three adjectives would work well. Good. The car. What else wouldn't your mother like? It's not just the car. Yes. And do we all understand that? That it's the woman and the car? There's a connection between the two? And we're adults. How do we describe this woman? Why wouldn't your mother like this woman? Good. Okay, yes, Jordan. She isn't wearing a bra. That's meaningful, right? I mean, think of the times. Even nowadays, I think it would have the same connotation, but this is 1972. So we're coming right out of the 1960s. So bra burning, the rise of feminism. This is 1972, so feminism is what we consider kind of modern day feminism is absolutely taking off. So yeah, your mother. I mean, because it's playing up on a common notion, right? That if your traditional mother probably wouldn't want you being seen with this woman. Not that there's anything wrong with her, but from a traditional mother's perspective, right? There's something dangerous about the woman and dangerous about the car. But who is this mad? Excuse me. Who is this ad aimed at? It's aimed at men, right? Women probably aren't going to respond to this ad. They might like the car, but this isn't probably the ad that's going to get them to run into the dealership. It's aimed at men. Okay, men who want that kind of image, men who either because they're young and living it up, or maybe what's the cliche that you hit a certain age in your 40s or 50s, midlife crisis. Yeah, the thought of being a little bit dangerous, being a bit naughty, doing things that your mother would not approve of might seem appealing to you, right? So notice, and things like placement, okay, layout. I will say that I think print ads, I mean, I love print ads. That's why I chose the Jeep ad to write an essay about, an example essay. And the Jeep one was really challenging because you saw how minimalist it was. But if you choose one of the three print ads, I think on some level, you have to be comfortable discussing visuals because there is no movement, there is no sound. You have to be comfortable talking about things like color, layout, placement, like the woman is front and center. She's the first thing that you see. The car is also just behind her. So there's a clear link, right? Woman and car, because they're placed at the front of the image. Color, we've already mentioned, is incredibly important. Now, the movie theater. Anybody familiar with Last Tango in Paris? It sounded like Jordan possibly is. Why would that be meaningful? Again, no detail in an ad is accidental. It's not coincidence that, let's see, it's 1972, so The Godfather was out around that time. It's not The Godfather. It's not, I don't know what Disney movie was out at the time, but it's not a Disney movie. Oh, was the car in the movie? I have no idea. Okay. Yeah, it's a popular movie that came out in the 1970s, but it's also incredibly sexually frank. Even by today's standards, the movie is. I doubt it would get an R rating. It would probably still get like an NC-17 rating. At the time it came out, it got an X rating. But even by 2018 standards, it is very sexually frank. Okay, it's a great movie, but yeah, be prepared. Don't watch it if you're not ready for. Um, so again, that's not coincidence. Okay, the entire ad, the woman who's very independent. Okay, she's not wearing a dress or a skirt or a modest dress and skirt. No, she's wearing pants. She's going braless. She's right in front of this sleek and sporty car. The coloring again is very seductive, lurid, sultry, and even the movie that's being shown. Okay, this movie the mother would not approve of. So can we see how when we look at this ad on all sorts of levels, from the tagline to the color to the placement to the link between the woman and the car to the movie theater in the background, that it's all kind of working together, that it's not just accidental? I ask because, again, you're going to have to do the same thing with whatever ad you choose. You're going to have to look at that commercial or that print ad and spot at least three things that are going on that you can confidently discuss, okay, as being important. Three things where you can answer the question why. Why this color? Why this setting? Why this movie? Does this make sense? Do people understand kind of the gist of what you'll have to do with your chosen ad? Jordan, some people would say it's worse in the sexual department than 50 Shades. I've never read 50 Shades or seen the movie. I should, because I try to keep up on things that are popular. Like I read all those Twilight books. uh, but yeah, it's again, it's incredibly sexually frank. The ad is printed like a movie poster. Okay, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't entirely disagree with that. There is an ad, and I don't want to say too much about it because obviously it's one of the approved ads. So I want you guys to figure things out. But here, for example, you have this ad here from Altoids Wintergreen Mints. Okay. I was tempted to write an essay about this, but I didn't want to burn up using this ad. Obviously, I don't have the Jeep ad as an option because then everybody would just choose to write about the things we've mentioned in this session. But here, you'd have to be comfortable talking about various aspects of this. Yeah, Jordan, that's actually not silly to raise. Actually, even though people will watch this, I don't mind mentioning just one thing. Jordan said Christmas Story. Yes, that's often what people mention. I think that's not accidental. I don't think it's an. People have to be careful. It's not a recreation of the movie. This isn't the kid from the movie. But is the ad sort of playfully maybe bringing to mind a very famous film that people know? Yeah, possibly. And I won't say too much more, but there's a lot that this ad is doing beyond just the surface detail. The kid getting his tongue stuck to the frozen, right? Altoids wintergreen are so cold or so minty that the kid gets his tongue stuck to it. But even beyond that surface detail, there are things that this ad is doing, and that film, the Christmas Story, is doing. That is, I think, worth exploring. Right, you guys are mentioning other things. I'm not going to mention them out loud because for the people who watch this and choose this ad, I want them to do some work. Oh, uh, Oh, I didn't mean to get away from that. Hold on. Oh, we have to breeze through some more stuff. That's okay. I'll bring it up real quickly. Uh, Print ads. Here's another one. Yeah, the Chico one. I hate to scare people away, but please don't choose this ad unless I had a student last month who did a pretty good job with it. I can't make this smaller. I can make it bigger, but not smaller. Um, it's a really cool ad, but it is difficult to write about. Okay. I mean, I love print ads for that very reason because I think they're challenging. But keep that in mind. Okay. Print ads are challenging. Here's another print ad. Yeah, print ads on some level, you have to be comfortable discussing visual elements. So color, lighting, layout, things like that. Commercials, I think, are a little bit broader because there are other issues to consider, like quote unquote story, characters, sound. Okay, but visual ads, print ads don't have any of that. So yeah, choose your ad carefully. Okay, we have one more ad to look at, and then I want to make some final comments about thesis statements and to show you real quickly what we're working on for the first week. Uh, okay, I was going to. Oh, this happened last month. Let me quickly type Diet Coke, tall, dark, and handsome. Okay. Now I'm going to try to blast the sound. It's probably going to annoy my coworkers. You should be able to hear it. Okay, I'm going to play it one more time. And as usual, just start typing things that stand out to you, things that are interesting. Even if you're not sure why, just go ahead and I'm going to play it one more time and risk people coming over and yelling at me to play it softer, but it's only 15 seconds long, so. Okay, I can't risk playing it out loud, but what are things that stand out? Okay, Kim's mentioned an important one: the music, funky music. Why that funky music? Again, we have to answer these questions. Why? Why gets us to analysis? They've made a musical choice. Okay, to use this kind of music. Why this music? Okay, the tall, dark, and handsome. But yeah, but put it together for me because if Jordan Diet Coke has always had classic rock music feel to it. Okay, but this isn't really classic rock, right? This is Bradley says dance party. Okay, I think we're all kind of right, but you guys are kind of answering the question with the question. Okay, I'm going to be the mean instructor and say that I'm asking why funky music, and the answer should not be because it's funky or because it's danceable. Okay, just don't worry. Here's the thing: find that balance. On the one hand, yes, I want you to think and stretch those brain muscles. On the other hand, don't overthink. Okay. For example, what is this ad going for? I feel like everybody's sort of dancing around the issue. Okay, it gets people's attention, but I could play. Okay, Bradley, I think nails it. Because here's what I would say to Jordan said, it gets people's attention. People will most likely tune into a good tune. But I would be here's devil's advocate. I would say, but lots of songs could do that. Or why aren't they using? Why this music? Okay, lots of music can get your attention. Lots of music can have a cool rhythm. Why this music? And I think Bradley, it's yeah, it's sexy music. I'm trying to say not much more than that because I think there's also another aspect to it. That actually ties into the whole ad, but I'm trying to. Here, let's come back to it. Okay, so we know music is key. Music is important. But what else stood out to you in this ad? Let's say music is definitely one of the three things we could focus on. Okay, Jordan says that it might just me, but anytime a Coke commercial is on, it blares music through my TV speakers. Okay, fair enough. But we have to examine this specific Diet Coke ad. Okay. So music is important, but we need to identify two more things. What are two other things we could focus on? Imagine you've chosen this ad. Okay, Bradley, good. The long shoot from top to bottom. I'm going to turn down the volume because honestly, there are a few people still here and they probably don't want to hear it blasting. What is this going for? What does this camera movement remind you of? Why is it doing that? Okay, it's slim, but where do we typically see that kind of shot used? We don't see it with glasses of soda. I think you're getting at it, Kim. Absolutely. Slim, it's a diet soda, right? Here, instead of frustrating people, I'll go ahead and make some comments and then Bradley says lasting, fulfilling. Yeah, but those are general adjectives we could use for any soft drink commercial. Okay. And if it sounds like I'm being tough on you guys, it's because sometimes I'll see this in your essays or even earlier on where I'll have to be the mean instructor and say, yeah, but that could apply to any commercial, or you're just talking about music in general, but not this specific music and why it's used this way in this ad. Here, let me back up and say, here's the thing. A lot of you are making comments that are sort of explaining the ad, and I know this is going to sound really confusing. Ad analysis is not ad explanation. In other words, it's not your task to explain that a Diet Coke ad hopes to sell itself to people who are looking to lose weight. All that's understood. I want nuts and bolts stuff, looking at very specific moves that the ad makes, and then answering the question why. Why that music? Why that slow pan of the glass? And because here, I'll just skip ahead, and I hate to be that instructor who gives answers like I'm looking for specific answers. And but first of all, is this ad serious or is it lighthearted? Right, dumb question because I think we all know the answer to that. It's clearly lighthearted, correct? Yes, I'd say it's even humorous. That's the music. The music, yes, it's sexy, but it makes you smile, right? It should make you kind of laugh because it's the stereotype of what we expect sexy music to be. Okay, right? It's got that funky waka waka sound. Okay, uh, and second, the panning up the glass. Okay, let me show that again. We don't typically see that, of course, with a tall, dark, slim glass of Diet Coke. We usually see that with people's bodies. Okay, think about movies, right? The camera slowly pans up a person's body. Usually in movies, it's a female body. Hardly ever do you see a male body start at like the ankle and work its way up, but you see that a lot. This is sort of a reversal of that. Okay, it's not a person; it's a tall glass of Diet Coke. Um, it's also probably aimed primarily at women, okay, not men. So, but yeah, camera movement, that's one huge element here, right? That it's sort of playing upon the tropes we see in cinema of scanning up a person's body or scanning down a person's body, but doing so with the tall glass of Coke. It uses that music because, again, it's the sort of cliche of what sexy, funky, seductive music sounds like. Good. Okay, Kim says she gets it now. Are the rest of you getting it now too? Because I don't know, I think I'm an easy instructor, but I am tough in the sense that, Yeah, I see sometimes people slip into ad explanation. So they're explaining things that the reader or the viewer already knows. People have to learn from your ad analysis. Like with the Jeep ad, maybe your first response was not to notice the color or to understand why that color was chosen. But now that it's been explained, it makes sense, right? You even think, oh my gosh, that's so obvious. You have to do the same thing with your chosen ad. People ultimately have to learn something. And by the way, you do know these things because this is why advertising works. Subconsciously, anybody who watches this ad, the Diet Coke ad, they know that it's humorous. They know that the music is sort of a parody. It's sort of poking fun at what we typically stereotypically think of as funky and sexy music. The scanning of the glass up and down is again a trope borrowed from what we know from cinema, right? Popular culture. And yeah, it's sort of like once you unlock the trick, for example, with the Jeep ad, it was what the Jeep is essentially an outdoorsy vehicle. So a lot of the details reinforce that. With the car ad, again, it's a sexy, slightly dangerous, slightly naughty car. So lots of the details in the ad reinforce that. Here, it's a humorous, lighthearted ad. Yes, aimed at people who are potentially going to buy Diet Coke, but it's also doing things working together to create a humorous, laugh-worthy, short 15-second ad. So yes, I would say that the ad's use of camera movement is important. The ad's choice of music is important. Uh, Also, the tag or the title. Okay, tall, dark, and handsome. We all. Okay, Kim. I apologize. Kim is a unisex name as well. My sister is named Kim, but yes, I'm aware, so I apologize. Uh, Tall, dark, and handsome, we get that reference too, right? Tall, dark, and handsome usually refers to people, right? Men we stereotypically describe as the ideal man being tall, dark, and handsome. Of course, here it's not a person, it's a glass of Diet Coke. So, do we get that now? How the entire ad is working toward one sort of goal here? Yes, no, maybe so. Here, let me open up the worksheet. You can read through the instructions. There are a lot of them, I know, for this first major assignment, the brainstorming activity. Do notice that you have a sample. Okay, it says click this link to view an example worksheet. So if you click on it, and you can see a previous student's completed worksheet on the Diet Coke ad, tall, dark, and handsome. Okay, most of the prompts, and by the way, this is what you're doing. You're filling out this template. Uh, and most of them are self-explanatory. So what is the title of your ad? For what company was this made? Number 3, describe the ad as if you're explaining its details, to someone who has never seen it before. Okay. But sometimes students forget to read what comes after the bolded information. Be sure to identify specific details that stand out, such as color, symbol, use of space, lighting, sound effects, music, camera angles, or movement, character clothing, facial expressions, etc. So yeah, you're doing two things at once. You're explaining it in detail, kind of like giving a summary, as if you're explaining it to someone who's never seen the ad. But you're also commenting on important details that stand out. Because you'll explain those details in the next prompt. So here's a pretty good response, right? Everything in the ad reminds me of a sex scene in a movie. The music has a sexy vibe. The words you use to describe the drink could be just used to describe a good-looking man. The camera even moves up the glass of Coke like it might be moving up a person's body. The ad's message seems to be that Diet Coke is as good as a sexy romantic partner. Okay? So that's the kind of specific things you should be noticing. And analysis is more about that than what sometimes you guys have also said that's absolutely true. But again, uh, people were mentioning that Diet Coke keeps you slim or it's aimed at people looking to lose weight. Yeah, that's true, but that would apply to any diet cola product. We're looking at this specific ad. Again, most of these are explanatory, except I want to get down to the one that always confuses people. Here it says, list 3 possible tactics, techniques that you could focus on for your essay. That's just a fancy word for those 3 things, those 3 details, those 3 moves that the ad makes. So if I were writing about the Jeep ad, my 3 things would be the ad's use of color, the ad's use of imagery, right? Those animal images, and the ad's tagline. So that's all it's asking for. Number 9, you have to write a thesis statement. And that's the final thing we have to cover before we end this session is, what is a thesis? Actually, let me skip past this stuff because pretty much we've been talking about it already. A thesis means you're going to narrow your focus. Remember, we took a real quick look at my finished Jeep essay, which you won't see until week 3. You will see an outline for the Jeep essay next week when you next move on. By the way, you'll get feedback on this brainstorming worksheet, and you'll use that feedback to write the outline, which is next week's assignment. But a thesis is like a roadmap to the paper. It typically will ultimately appear as your final sentence of your opening paragraph, your introduction paragraph. Remember, I highlighted in yellow. Actually, we're going to see that thesis in just a second. So here are 2 thesis examples. And the thesis is a single sentence, okay? It's a single concise sentence where you will list those 3 things you've identified. So here's the Jeep, okay? The Jeep thesis. Through the use of simple color, playful imagery, and a double meaning tagline that reinforces theme, the See Whatever You Want to See ad appeals to the inner adventure inside everyone to unlock a hidden enthusiasm for Jeep. Okay, so there are the 3 things, right? They're mentioned at the beginning: color, imagery, tagline. Here's the thesis for the Diet Coke ad we just watched. And this is actually from a past student's paper. The Diet Coke Tall, Dark, and Handsome ad uses sexually charged language, 1, seductive music, 2, and slow camera movement, 3, to convince sophisticated women to buy into the idea that drinking Diet Coke is as fulfilling as a heteronormative romance. Okay, heteronormative, that's just fancy wording for, right, relationship between opposite genders. So yeah, this is what you'll try to aim for in your own worksheet. You have a blank worksheet here. It even says use this to complete the assignment. I don't know why that didn't open. There we go. So here's the blank version of the document. Okay, and you should use this template. So when it says type your response here, that's literally what you're going to do. Yeah, I'd say the ones that confuse people is, again, number 3. List 3 possible tactics or techniques. That's where you list the 3 things that you spotted in your chosen ad. Okay, so for that car ad we looked at, maybe your 3 things are color, layout, and setting. Okay, like the movie theater is important. Then once you've identified those 3 things, you have to write 2 thesis statements. My thinking here is that one thesis statement might be worded slightly better than the other, or maybe you've identified more than 3 things, but you're unsure which 3 are best, so you try a couple of them out in one thesis. But you do have the 2 examples of thesis statements to remind you of how thesis sentences work. And finally, number 10, sometimes students get super confused. Your essay must incorporate research. Here, we're not asking you to do research yet. Just give me some idea of concepts that you might research. Okay, so like keywords, ideas. What might you look into? In general, your research is going to work to support your thesis points, but still try to push yourself farther than just saying, I'm going to do research into music or color. For the Jeep one, I might say things like, I'm going to do research and hopefully find useful quotations about earth tones, okay? And specifically because Jeep is an outdoorsy ad, yeah, I would like to research, find useful information about how earth tones like the one used in the Jeep ad fit, or yeah, are made to be relevant. So, but that's what we're looking for. So we're not looking for URLs just dropped in, ideas, okay? Because next week you actually have to begin researching, and we'll talk more about that next week. Just a heads up though, research does not mean Wikipedia or online dictionaries or IMDb. No, it means actual like articles. They can be web articles, stuff that really provides you useful information that is going to help support your points. Yeah, but for this stage, you just have to come up with ideas. Questions, comments. I went a bit over. I try to keep these things limited to an hour because after an hour, I tend to lose people. But questions, comments, anything. Hopefully, do people feel confident that they know what to do? And by the way, I won't leave anybody hanging. If people are really struggling to maybe find those three things, of course, I'll give you a list of things to consider. Or what happens a lot is sometimes earlier in the worksheet, students list lots of great things, cool things, amazing things, but they don't end up in the thesis. But just even seeing them mentioned in the worksheet, that's a good sign too. So no, I don't expect perfection. I'll certainly help. But the more effort you can put into the worksheet, the more I have to use because yeah, it's a lot of fun to see that the student actually has great ideas, but he or she isn't noticing them. Okay. If you are comfortable with what we've discussed, you are allowed to go enjoy the rest of your evening. I thank you so much for attending. Oh, Kim asks, where are we turning assignments? Okay, so the major assignments for this class. So basically the 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, right? Those always get handed into turnitin.com. You do have an activity for turnitin.com registration. It is a cinch. Okay, it's under the getting started stuff. Oh, my computer is practically frozen. Uh, you just need this stuff here, the class ID and the password, the enrollment key, which for this month is Spoon, lowercase. With these two items, you just have to go over to turnitin.com and sign up. Okay, that's all you need, and that's where you'll upload this brainstorming worksheet. Next week, the outline. Week 3, the essay draft. Week 4, the revision of the essay. Also, in week 4, peer review is handled completely through turnitin.com. But yeah, assignments need to be handed in there. Kim says yes, but does it have a symbol like the books where we read the books? I'm not sure what that means. Or are you asking about the readings over McGraw-Hill? Yeah, I could quickly show McGraw-Hill. The stupid control panel's in the way. Move. I have a lot of problems here. Stuff blocking and things. Computer working. Here, let me try to close some tabs and some programs because things are working really slow on my end. Let me try to close Microsoft Word. Don't save. Here, I can try to close this. Okay. I have no idea. How about McGraw? Hill Connect. There we go. Okay, so I'll sign in. Does what have an icon like McGraw? I'm not sure what you mean by icon. Okay, here's our class for the month, June. I can go into the student view. And everything is arranged perfectly for you. So you have these weekly achieve modules. I should have mentioned this earlier in the session. These are interactive modules that you have to complete. Okay, and then the readings are broken down by week. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Supplemental reading that you don't have to do, but it's recommended that you do. Oh, I can click on an icon and get to McGraw. I don't think so. Like I have at the bottom of my screen. I'm not sure. I mean, as you can see, I didn't get to McGraw-Hill by clicking on any icon on the bottom of my screen. If you mean, can you add one? I don't think so. I mean, I have McGraw-Hill bookmarked, so I can just go to it. Oh, you do have a McGraw-Hill icon. Okay. Yeah, I kind of do things the old-fashioned way sometimes. I don't. But yeah, if you have an icon that can get you there, great. I don't know if Turnitin.com has one. Honestly, I'm so old school that I'm always typing in Turnitin.com like in my browser. I don't even have it bookmarked. So yeah, I'm the worst person to ask about those kinds of things. Um, yeah. So I mean, I don't think so, but again, I didn't even know that about McGraw Hill. So yeah, and I meant earlier in the session to show how. I guess I'm still recording, so if you want to, I can go through it. The Achieve modules. It's just a matter of course, my computer's working so slow. We'll see. Just clicking begin. And the Achieve modules are these interactive, mostly grammar-based modules. There are 3 of them for the first 3 weeks. There is no Achieve module to complete for week 4. There are readings. By the way, the Achieve stuff is easy because I can see what percentage you've completed, and whatever that percentage is your grade. So if you make it 75% of the way through, you get a 75. But to be honest, there's no reason not to complete it to 100%. Um, you can set up a schedule if you like. I've already started this in the past, so let me just Let's start learning. Let's mute you. Okay. Pick your next. Okay, so in which sentence does the apostrophe correctly used to show possession? Yesterday's dreams are often today's nightmares. That looks correct. This one is incorrect because nightmares should not have an apostrophe. This one is wrong too, so I know this one's correct. I feel very confident, so I say yes. It tells me it's correct. I click OK, and your little progress bar immediately goes up. See, I'm 2% of the way done. Use the drop-down box to choose the correct punctuation for this sentence. Are we going to get there? Okay, that's a question, so we need a question mark. Are we ever going to get there? Okay, I know it. Submit. Answer is correct. Went up to 4%. So as soon as you get this guy to 100%, you're done. You get 100 for the assignments. Now, I forgot to mention, most of you are still here though. Okay, so you have these weekly journals, right? These are sort of like informal quizzes. You have one for every week. And as you can see in the instructions, I even have it highlighted. Using quotes and or concepts from the week's reading as well as the lecture. Explain your understanding of brainstorming and or responsible writing. Responsible writing you'll learn about in the reading. Then this is the important stuff. Think of the journal entries informal quiz. I need to see strong evidence that the readings were completed and that the lecture was attended and watched. And yes, I know some of you are in attendance right now, but maybe I forget. Or I recommend writing 2 medium paragraphs, one that summarizes the reading and one that summarizes the lecture. So yeah, these weekly journal responses, from my perspective, you can treat it like a journal or a diary. That's fine. But I need to come away with a strong sense of yes. Let's see who's still here. Bradley, Kim, and Samuel. I need to come away and feel like yes, Bradley did the readings and watched the lecture. Okay. Same thing with Kim. Same thing with Samuel. If you do that, you'll pretty much get close to 100. I mean, if it's sloppily written, there might be some points for loss for grammar, but really, these weekly journal responses, the Achieve modules, should be perfect 100s. As a matter of fact, there are so many what I like to call gimme points because these grades really are in your pocket entirely. And it's something like 45% of the class, where if you have pretty close to hundreds, you could fail the rest of the class and still pass. I don't recommend that. I would recommend going for the highest grade possible. But yeah, I should have mentioned that earlier, so I apologize. But for people who are watching this at home, I do think that's useful advice. This class is not that difficult. Students only get into trouble when they miss assignments. Oh, and I should have mentioned earlier too, we do have a late policy. It is 10 points per day, up to 72 hours. Okay, so if you're handing something a day late, there's a loss of 10 points. 2 days, 20 points. 3 days, 30 points. After that, it's a 0. I am pretty flexible though, so if people just let me know, not at the last second, like 11:59 on midnight, that you need extra time because I don't know, you have to work a double shift or you have this going on in your life that's chaotic, that's fine. Just let me know. It takes me 3 days at least to grade work because we instructors aim for a 72-hour turnaround time, and the major assignments are always due Sunday nights at midnight. So yeah, if it's going to take me until Wednesday at midnight to grade, I'm not going to get that furious if you say, "Can I have until Monday night to hand it in?" So just let me know ahead of time, reasonably, and I'm pretty okay with that. But yeah, 10 points per day, up to 72 hours. Um, but yeah, you shouldn't be missing assignments. Okay, especially when honestly, the only people who do not pass are the ones who don't hand in work. The class is designed where even if you're not that confident with your writing or you're worried about getting a low grade, a single low grade still does not destroy your ability to pass the class. I'm trying to catch up on the comments in the chat there. Are you saying this lecture right here is lagging or the videos that are posted to the site? You mean, okay. I'll take a look at that. I'm aware of that because I've had that comment from lots of people. So this lecture I always put in two forms. It's embedded directly into the activity, and it also comes with a YouTube link. Probably, sadly, I do not have the raw material for those other videos, so I don't have YouTube links, alternate links, but I'll try to speak to someone about this issue because I've heard it for several months that the videos are impossible to get through sometimes because they lag, but at least the lectures, and I do think the lectures are the most important videos because, yeah, these aren't the kind of assignments that can just be winged. They can't just be figured out. In other words, for people who don't watch this first lecture, they'll probably be super confused about what ad analysis is. Um, so yeah, the lecture videos are super important. And they'll always come in two formats. You'll always have a YouTube link that will take you to YouTube so you can watch it outside the FSO platform. And I'll try to figure out what's going on with the other videos. Although I think some of the videos probably have a little thing you can click on that will take you to the YouTube site. No? Hopefully. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording for all the people watching now.